and welcome to Good Games Spawn Point, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Bajo.
And I'm Hex.
And I am Darren.
Coming up on the show, we build our own superhero world in Supernauts.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll help a young boy avenge his stolen baked goods in Monsters Ate My Birthday Cake.
Darren, this would be a perfect time to test your brand new cake oven.
Negative, Bajo. It still needs many hours of tinkering and temperature testing. You wouldn't want an overcooked dry cake, or even worse, an undercooked gluey mess, would you? Ugh.
That's true, Bajo. Darren has very high cake standards to uphold. But Darren, I think it's time for your question of the week.
Affirmative, Hex. Rev up those cerebral neurons, spawnlings. It's time for Darren's challenge. This week, I'm asking you to name this track in Mario Kart 8, what cup it features in, and the original Mario Kart game it first appeared in.
That's a lot of stuff to list, Darren.
It's time to up the ante with Darren's challenge, Bajo. The spawnlings need to be tested.
Well, whilst we ponder the answer, here's Goose with the news.
Thanks, guys. Goose here with all the gaming news from around the globe. 'Tis the season of speedruns. Last week it was Spelunky, and this week it's the classic Nintendo 64 game, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Ocarina's time-saving, level-warping bugs are well documented, but a clever use of these exploits has seen player Cosmo Wright complete Link's greatest adventure in a measly 18 minutes and 10 seconds, a new world record, and one that many are saying will be impossible to beat. Nice work, Cosmo. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe wants to create the very first Robot Olympics to coincide with the 2020 Human Olympics. Smaller international robotic competitions like the DARPA Robotic Challenge already take place, but it's hoped a high-profile comp like this will increase global robotic interest and encourage innovation. Wow, let's see, that gives Darren 6 years to get ready, and with me as his coach, he'll be unstoppable. I better get started on a training montage. Goose out.
Thanks, Goose. All right, guys, let's have a look at Supernauts.
Supernauts is a free-to-play game where the main focus is building things in its sandbox mode, but there are also a few missions thrown in.
That's right, Hex. You play as your very own Supernaut, and your secret headquarters is on an asteroid. So you're an astronaut and a superhero at the same time, hence the name Supernaut. Genius.
Talk about win-win. Plus there's a shop available where you can buy some awesome blinged-out furnishings for your home.
You are also equipped with a zapper! Pew, 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 pew! This will let you make structures and houses out of the various types of blocks available in the game. For example, clay, concrete, and bricks, to name a few.
Yeah, and there's a lot of freedom to create almost any kind of structure. Although the game does give you some guidance by projecting the basic frameworks when you're building.
Guys, I felt like I ran out of space fairly quickly. You can buy extensions for your land with coins, and you can get coins by trading with other players or by completing missions.
Missions involve mostly rescuing trapped citizens on Earth with the help of your trusty zapper. You can zap certain blocks to add them to your inventory, and then place them in strategic positions to save those poor citizens.
Affirmative, Hex. And the zapper in each mission will determine which blocks you can remove and place.
I have mixed feelings about these missions. I mean, on one hand, they do have some great puzzle elements, like figuring out how to rescue each citizen by creating paths with blocks. But on the other hand, the gameplay was frustratingly fiddly.
I agree. The touchscreen controls make the camera a bit wonky, and it seems to flick about at random.
Well, the worst is when I had the camera exactly where I wanted it. Then, when I'd select my zapper, the camera would suddenly flick to a different angle.
I know what you mean, Hex. The camera angles made it a pain to place blocks where I wanted them to go.
I did like how the rescued citizens join you on your home asteroid, where you construct new houses for them. These new inhabitants will then pay you rent, generating more income for you. Charging my bank balance!
And it's from there that you can purchase and upgrade your gadgets, although collecting enough coins can be slow progress. And like most free-to-play games, you can speed everything up with the premium currency.
In Supernauts, the premium currency is gems, and this is what you buy with real-life money, and that's how these kinds of free-to-play games make their money. But I think they relied a little bit too much on it with this one.
Yeah, I agree, especially when those upgrades start to take longer and longer, so you're more inclined to use gems just to move on.
Okay, according to my atomic clock, we really should be wrapping this up. What scores are you going to give Supernauts?
Well, there were some decent puzzle missions, and I did enjoy that cheerful music, but in the end, I just couldn't help but feel like those microtransactions were too pushy. So I'm giving it 6 out of 10.
Yes, I didn't have much fun at all. I just found the whole thing a bit fiddly and frustrating, sadly, so I'm giving it 5 out of 10.
All right, strap on your coding helmets, spawnlings. It's now time for another lesson in game making from Goose and Julian. Are you ready?
Ready?
Oh, ready!
Roll the tape, Carrie!
Roll the tape.
Roll the tape, Carrie!
Oh, I think I have a blue screen.
Welcome back to our guide on making your very own game in Scratch. I've been working on a Good Game Spawn Point Invaders game with Julian here. Julian, what's on for this week?
Well, we've got the gameplay, now it's time to add lives and scoring.
Alright then, Spawnling, so load up those Scratch files, and Julian, kick us off with the first step.
Select the Darren sprite, and under Scripts, select Data. Click on Make a Variable, and call it Score. Click on Make a Variable again, and call it Lives. Both of these should be made for all sprites.
Now select Darren's laser sprite. Go to Data and insert a change by one block just under the first if-then clause as the first command inside the if-then loop. Change the variable in this block to score. This will award you 1 point every time you laser a human.
Now select Bajo's chicken sprite. Just below the repeat until loop, add an if-then loop from control.
Move the hide block below the new if-then loop.
From sensing, add a touching block as the trigger. From the drop-down menu, change it to Darren. Go to Data and insert a change by one block inside the loop. Set it to Lives. Add a minus sign in front of the 1. Now Bajo's chicken will sap one of Darren's lives every time it touches him. Do the same for Hex and Goose's chicken sprites.
Affirmative.
Select Darren's sprite again. From Events, add a green flag block. Go to Data and add a set to 0 block. From the drop-down, select Score. From Control, add a forever loop below that and a if-then loop inside it. Go to Operators and insert an equals block as the if-then clause, and from Data, drag Score into the left slot. Set the right side to 20.
From Looks, insert a save for 2 seconds into the if-then loop and type "you win" in the text field. Then go to Control and insert a stop block, and from the drop-down menu, select All. So if I get a score of 20 points, I win!
Exactly. Now while we're on Darren's sprite, add a green flag block from Events. From Data, add a set to 0 block below it, select Lives from the drop-down, and change the 0 to 3. Now we start every game with 3 lives.
Now add a forever loop with an if-then loop inside it. Like before, insert an equals block from Operators, only this time we plug lives into the left side and 0 into the right side. From Looks, insert a save for 2 seconds into the if-then loop and type in "you lose." Then go to Control and insert a stop block, and from the drop-down menu, select All. That's it! Now you can both win and lose. It's a proper video game.
Well done, Goose. I knew you could do it. Next week we'll be adding some finishing touches.
I can't wait! Remember, Spawnlings, to save that code, and you can always watch previous lessons on our website here. Until then, Goose out.
Julian out.
Ah, thanks, Goose and Julian.
Alright guys, time for the Our Spawn Point desk.
If you need any help with difficult questions, you can always call me.
Okay, Bajo, let's get some of these questions answered. And first up, we've got this one from the Splad Master, who is in Bibra Lake, Western Australia. Splat Master.
The master of splats.
Yeah.
Can you make a splat sound? That's pretty good. Hi, Good Game Spawn Point. I was wondering if you would give us a sneak peek of the new game called Splatoon. Anyway, didn't you guys tell us about this in your E3 2014? P.S. Bajo, do these. Well, Splatmaster, unfortunately, we just didn't have the time or get a chance to check out Splatoon at E3, but it certainly looked pretty fun, and here's a sneak peek.
So it's a third-person action game exclusively for the Wii U. From what we've seen, the main focus seems to be on 4 against 4 online multiplayer. Each team has to try and paint as much of the map in their team colour as possible before the match ends.
And you can transform between being a squid or a person. When you're a squid, you can swim through your team's paint really fast and even go up walls. But when you're a person, you can use a bunch of different weapons to help paint the levels and take out enemy players.
The devs have also said that there will be some kind of single player as well as local multiplayer modes, but we haven't really seen any of those in action yet.
Indeed, we'll have to wait and see if the game lives up to its potential when it comes out in the first half of next year. So far away.
Alright, well, moving on to this one from Creeper 101 in Springfield Lakes, Queensland.
Hi GGSP, this is my first asking a question. OMG! My parents want to know how much computer space does Scratch take up before I go. Bajo, do these. Bye. And Darren is a massive noob. Please answer. I'm desperate. Well, Creeper, since Scratch is browser-based, it doesn't take up much space on your computer at all. When you use a program like that in your browser, it will download some temporary files, but they're usually not big enough to worry about.
However, if you want to download it and use the offline editor, you'll need about 50 megabytes of space in total.
Yeah, 50 megabytes. Nowadays, that's really tiny. My smartwatch has more storage space than that.
It's minuscule, really. But let's move on now to this one from King Moon Duck. Hey GGSP, I recently got the game Adventure Time Card Wars, and I was wondering if you could give me some tips on how to win. P.S. I remember watching this episode where you two answered a question from Llama Llama Duck King, and I was wondering who is Llama Llama Duck King, because you two talked about him once in another episode. P.P.S. Bajo and Hex and Darren and Goose, do these faces all at once if you can, please.
Oh!
Ha!
Oh! Okay.
Thanks, King Moon Duck away!
Well, your Moon Duck Highness, we can definitely give you a few tips in Card Wars. For me personally, I think it's wise to focus on only using 2 different landscapes at a time.
Yeah, it can take a while to build up enough cards to fill out just one landscape type. And if you have 3 or more, then it can be tricky to get enough of each type of creature card into a deck.
Yes, we find 2 is the sweet spot. You can have a good mix of cards from each landscape and have room to spare for a few spells and buildings to round out your deck. And it just gives you a bit more variety and helps mitigate any one of the landscape's weaknesses.
It's also wise to keep a few rainbow creatures in your deck too. Just give a little bit more versatility during a match. And try to have a decent mix of low, mid, and high strength cards.
Yeah, if you have too many high strength cards, you could be caught out at the start of a match and not have enough magic to play anything. And if you only have low strength cards, you'll struggle against tough opponents.
Of course, the key to winning is just having some good cards in the first place. The quickest way to get great cards is to use gems to open algebraic chests. So do your best to earn free gems by getting 3 stars in each match and get yourself a few decent cards. Just a couple of good cards in a deck can make a huge difference.
And if you can get in the top 10 of a Card Wars tournament, you can get a really good card. I managed to come in 6th and score Dr. Death, who has a crazy high 52 attack damage.
Yeah, it's usually not that hard to break into the top 10. Just make sure you spend the gold to find your opponents around your level.
Be a bit cautious though. If you see someone with a rare character, even if they are around your level, they've probably been playing a while and have a pretty good deck built up. If they're using Finn or Jake, then that's usually a good sign that they won't be too tough.
Well, hopefully that helps you, King Moon Duck. But as for who Llama Llama Duck King was, well, they were just a royal spawnling like yourself who sent us a question. But anyway, let's move on to this one from Electricity, who is in Gotham City, in French Perth, New South Wales. Whoa.
Where is the Good Game Spawn Point studio? And also, what is TF2 rated? Anyway, Bargerpants/Batman, I cannot say how epic you are. Hextef, why aren't you from French Perth? And Darren is a P.S. What does Darren stand for? And Darren, do you know any words that have more than 1,000 letters in it? If so, please mention. P.P.S. Please answer on TV by December 2014 to keep your epicness, Bajo, and also to keep me from sending troops to raid your studio, get 3 stars destroyed your town hall, and farting in your general direction. Short version, please, and well, Electricity, our studio is in a secret base deep underground, hundreds of kilometers below the Earth's crust, guarded by an army of robots covered in sharks with magma.
What? No. Electricity, our studio is actually in Sydney.
Yeah, well, now it's not a secret base, but it is still a secret base.
And Team Fortress 2 is rated MA15+, so we can't talk about that here on Spawn Point, as you need to be 15 or over to play that game.
Yes, that's right. Hey, Darren! What are you doing, Darren?
Yeah, what's he up to? With flags or something?
Why are you waving these flags around? It looks like you're practicing for some sort of parade about robots or something.
Negative. It's semaphore, Bajo. The various positions of the flags each represent a letter in the alphabet. It's a form of communication commonly used out at sea, as it allows for ships to communicate by sight alone.
Well, at least it is a form of communication, unlike your royal fanfare from last week.
Well, it communicated my arrival, didn't it?
Yes, I guess so, but that's a pretty tenuous link, Darren. But anyway, what are you trying to say with your little flag language?
Oh, I was just spelling out what my name stands for, which is the Data Analyzing Robot for the Ruthless Extermination of Noobs.
Well, fair enough. While you're here though, Darren, the Spawnling was wondering if there are any words with more than 1,000 letters in them.
Oh, affirmative. According to my database, there are actually several words in the English language with more than 1,000 letters in them. The longest word I can find belongs to the full chemical name for the largest known protein. It's commonly known as Titan, but its full name is actually 189,819 letters long.
Really? That's a pretty long word.
Affirmative X. It takes an average human approximately 3.5 hours to say it. The word is methional glutaminol.
Darren, you're not going to say the whole word, are you?
Well, I could spell it out in semaphore if you'd prefer.
No, I would not prefer that.
Oh, sorry, Darren. I think we're out of time, so...
Well, your loss. Your loss. Back to the studio for me.
All right, bye, Darren.
Bye, Darren.
Have fun.
Not to mention that would probably be the most boring thing ever, right?
Absolutely.
3 hours and something minutes? Ages. Anyway, don't forget, if you'd like to ask us a question, then you can go here and send it in.
The only thing I like doing for 3 hours is dancing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What about a really long gaming session?
Yeah, I like doing that for 3 hours too, while dancing. Yeah, multitasking.
Okay.
You
could just be playing a dance game for 3 hours, or are you talking about playing a game while dancing?
Either.
Okay. Always such good questions.
Yeah. Now, if there's one thing that I cannot stand, it's when somebody eats my cake, especially when I've labelled that cake clearly Bajo's cake in the back of the fridge.
Wasn't me. I'm a robot.
Well, it definitely wasn't me. It might have been those monsters in Monsters Ate My Birthday Cake.
In this puzzler for mobiles and PC, the dreaded Boogans have made off with pieces of scrumptious cake. So it's up to Nico and a bunch of oddballs he meets along the way to fetch them back.
You start off in Gogopo Village, a place that looks like it's straight out of a Zelda game. You can tell whoever made this is a big Nintendo fan. Nico can chat to the locals and snoop about the place, but this is just a starting point. Most of the game is about solving single map puzzles.
In each map, there are pieces of cake that are strategically placed out of reach, like behind a spike trap or a patrolling Boogan. The trick is figuring out how to get them all.
Affirmative. Nico has the ability to grab, pull, and push blocks, allowing you to push down switches and clear pathways. But you'll also be joined by other characters, each with their own unique ability. There's Grogna, who can charge to break down obstacles. Claude, the rabbit-like creature, who can burrow under walls where there are dirt patches. Eek the bat, who can shatter crystals and stun enemies. And Biff the snowman, who can freeze water, allowing you to walk across. Plus, Plus, there are more characters you unlock as the puzzles get harder and harder.
This game reminded me a lot of an old NES game called The Adventures of Lolo. It was quite similar in many ways, all just one map, obstacles to get to the other side. Maybe that's another sign of their love for Nintendo showing through.
Yeah, I think so. There are 2 fishermen in the village who look a lot like 2 certain plumber brothers on a break.
Whatever the influence, it's just good game design. It's so much fun carefully studying each map and seeing how the traps work to figure out what the combination of moves for the solution actually is. For instance, you might need to turn an enemy into an ice block and use them as a weight. Getting to that cake looks simple, but it's not.
It was simple for me, Bajo, but for humans, it can lead to a lot of trial and error as you get close to collecting all the cake pieces. If you make a mistake, you need to restart the whole puzzle from the starting position, but you do learn from your mistakes.
The different types of boogans really mix things up as well. There are ones that charge at you when you cross their eye line, and others that shriek to disable your abilities if you get too close. I was left scratching my head a few times.
Yeah, I love that it's difficult, and there's quite a lot of story here for a puzzle game, and some hidden quests too. But I did find the little story scenes that pop up went on for far too long. There was definitely too much dialogue when all I wanted to do was get to the next puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little overwritten, but you can skip those bits, Bajo. Plus, I like that there's a story layer. Nico's little adventure was charming, and it made me chuckle.
Unfortunately, I did find some technical deficiencies within the game.
Ooh, do tell, Darren.
The maps are not quite on a perfect grid, so sometimes pushing or pulling a block can get stuck because it's not perfectly aligned. Also, your characters can get in the way of each other, so it's fiddly moving them around in tight spaces.
I did find it annoying that it resets if you die, because you end up redoing bits of puzzle that you've done before again and again just to get back to where you were. It's so repetitive. I really think a checkpoint system would have helped.
Affirmative. Some maps had me stumped for an extra 1/5 of a second over my normal processing speed. I had to overclock some buses to compensate.
Wow, Darren, a whole 1/5 of a second.
It was an eternity for me.
What a waste of your time.
Affirmative.
Well, I think this game is actually best played with a tablet. It just really suits that kind of interface, and also for some reason on PC it's more expensive.
What are you giving it, Bajo?
I think this game has plenty of challenge, and I haven't played anything like this since the old NES days, so there's a bit of nostalgia in there too. I think it's worth 9 out of 10.
There's a lot of depth to it, isn't there? And loads of maps. Plus, I like that you can test your skills against a time limit, so I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10. Well, sadly, that's all the time we have for the show this week.
That's right, Hex, but Darren, that means it's time for you to give us the answer to your challenge.
Affirmative, Bajo. Earlier on the show, I asked you to name this Mario Kart circuit, the cup it featured in, and which Mario Kart game it originally came from. The answer is Yoshi Valley, and it's featured in the Leaf Cup of Mario Kart 8, but it actually made its first appearance during the Special Cup in Mario Kart 64 on the Nintendo 64.
And count yourself a true Mario Kart connoisseur if you got all those answers right, Spawnlings.
Affirmative, Hex.
Next time on the show, get your goo guns ready because we're having a look at the Portal 2 mod, Aperture Tag.
Plus, we'll grind and kickflip our way through Ollie Ollie.
Well, until next time, Bajo out.
Hex out.
Darren out.
Oh, I really feel like cake, Darren. Are you sure we can't just have a little taste?
But I told you my cake oven hasn't been tested yet.
Darren, we can help you test it out. We can be the test sample group.
Well, if you insist. Charging my cake oven. Done.
Oh, I really wanted cake today. Now we're going to get some. What is that?
What is this, Darren?
I told you it was a work in progress. Now you have to eat it, Bajo.
I don't want to eat it.
Oh, it smells
Do
funny.
it, Bajo, for science.
Science.
Oh, I don't
I
want
won't eat it for science.
What does it taste like?
Oh, it's got a bit of tang to it.
Now eat the rest.
At once? The
All
whole
of
thing?
it. All of it. Eat it. Eat my cake. Eat the cake.